My experience being raised by a self-hating black man, and it's the fault of colorism and racial trauma. My dad was born and raised in New York City, but my grandmother was Louisiana Creole, like Beyonce's mom, from New Orleans, and my grandfather was from the New York City area, descendant from the first black woman doctor in New York State, Susan B. McKinney Smith. Both of his parents were actually light-skinned, and his younger brother came out light-skinned. My dad came out brown-skinned, very much darker than the rest of his family. And in New York City, not a big issue, but if you know anything about Louisiana Creoles or the South, you know what he had to deal with growing up. One time they went down to the South to visit family. They were in Texas. They stopped trying to get into a hotel, but back then, see, my dad was born before Board versus Ed passed. They told my dad to wait in the car because they could get away with it, because even though they knew they were colored, that's what they called it, that's not what I'm calling them, they knew they were colored, they were like, you were light enough, you can get away with it. That's how the South operated a lot of the time, which is why we talk about privilege, light skin privilege. That's what that means. They told my dad he had to wait in the car. He was a very young kid. He didn't understand really. So he ran into the hotel after them, after they had told him to stay in the car. When he went in the hotel, they said, sorry, we don't allow hard ER in here, and kicked them all out. So they were all mad at my dad. Yeah, they were mad at him, because he was a kid and he didn't understand. So they had to sleep in the car, like on the side of the road, and they all got bitten by mosquitoes, and that was kind of what shaped his whole life. His cousins in New Orleans, actually in Cane River, would, say that they wouldn't want to touch him because they wouldn't want to catch his color. They wouldn't want to get darker. Everybody talks about how New York is a melting pot, New York City, which it is, but this was still 40s, 50s, and 60s, and we still have a lot of racism in New York City to this day, so it's not quite the utopia that, a lot of people think it is. He was constantly called the N-word. He was born in Jamaica, but they went to a Catholic school. My grandmother was a teacher. She wanted them to go to a better school district, whatever. He used to get beat by teachers, because back then you could get beat by teachers. He had a lot more trauma just because he was the darkest person in the family. That caused a lot of his identity issues, not loving himself, feeling outcast. So he only dated white women. Surprise! That's how I came to be here. I wasn't raised by my mom, my white side of the family at all, because he ended up getting custody of me, so I was raised by his family. It's so important that if you are having mixed kids, please have black women in their lives. Like, I don't care, find one, befriend one if you don't have one in the family, but if it was not for my aunties that helped raise me, I would be out here super annoying, just like a lot of these other people. I didn't have those identity issues because I was raised by my black side only. I, of course, had some problems, but that was more, all of the racism I experienced was from white people. I'm not clearly black. Like, I know that I look mixed. People think I'm Hispanic. I get cursed out, told I'm gonna get deported all the time. That's fine. But I know who I am, and I know who my family is, my community is, so it's very different. I didn't have that, oh, nobody accepts me type of experience. But that's not the only thing that caused all of the issues in his life, because he had a lot of other trauma, but that is primarily the racial aspect of it. We would fight a lot before he died. Because like I said, having black aunties in my life, I was able to learn and see shit from a different perspective than his, and that really allowed me to have a better overview of things, instead of just, hearing my dad hate himself and then growing up and feeling the same way. So I'm very, very, very thankful for that.